My name's Thomas Waddle. This is the Whisky Sour Hour, and we're joined by Chris from Parts May Vary. How are you doing, my man?
Hello, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, how are you?
Not too bad. Listen, I know we were kind of talking before we started recording, but again, just thanks very much for coming on and just making time in your life to pop on the podcast. I really appreciate it, mate.
No, absolute pleasure. No, I'm looking forward to this.
No, so just the kind of background is literally opened up TikTok. And this video struck me, just not just the passion that you were speaking about, Chris, but what it is you actually do is I think it's a craft, and I genuinely haven't seen anything like it before. So I was like, immediately watched, I think, one video, seen the Ninja Turtles in the next one. I was like, I'm going to have to get you on. But for the people at home, in your words, what is it you do?
So it's called toy photography, and the way that I kind of would pitch it is when you were a wee kid and there would be the adverts on the telly for action figures, and they always had, like, if it was Batman figures, it would be like a wee Gotham City, and there would be lights and there would be smoke and there'd be cars, and it always just looked so cool. And then you got it home and you took it into your bedroom and you're like, oh, this is just Batman on my desk or on my carpet. Like, it didn't quite feel the same. Toy photography is getting to actually get the wee Gotham City and get wee vehicles and enemies and lights and make it look like the commercials did when you were a kid, but with, proper toys, like, decent action figures, but not just like kids ones. You can get some really detailed high end figures and kind of make up your own worlds. I don't know if that's, I don't know, maybe a little bit rambly, but
no. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It was because obviously I'd seen the video first, so I seen almost like the making of the sausage before I saw the sausage. So when I went on your Instagram, and obviously the way you place everything, and there's obviously After Effects and stuff you do I take it you remove the stands and stuff and like post production and that. So
yeah.
it was like when you see the final product and you're just, it's amazing. And I think you're maybe saying like toy photography, there must be like we maybe need to work in the name, because honestly it's like model, like still life. It's unbelievable. Obviously we'll share certainly the video that caught my eye with the Power Rangers, because obviously it's Power Rangers. I'm going to have to talk about that. But like, what was it like that kind of drew you to doing this? Is this something that you've like always wanted, like you says there, when you were a kid and you seen the adverts? But like, at what point do you think, you know what, I'm actually going to get a good camera and I'm going to set up like Gotham City, for instance? Where does that come from?
So it's a weird kind of, I think it was like a perfect storm of things. So, like, I work in video, that's my bread and butter, and I was freelance for such a long time. So I had like a camera, a decent camera, I had some lights, I had all the kit, and I'd kind of collected action figures on and off pretty much from my late teenage years, all through uni. And then I kind of stopped a little bit, but I still had some figures lying around. And then I got back into action figure collecting with the McFarlane Stranger Things figures. Because I was really into Stranger Things. I saw them and I thought, you know what, they look really cool. And then the NECA Ninja Turtles of like the 1990 movie ones, I was like, holy crap, this is like fantastic. I need my hands on these. So those two lines were the two that kind of got me back into toy collecting. And then we went into COVID, and obviously the world kind of shut down and I was put on furlough. So I was just stuck at home without anything to do. I wasn't allowed to work. I was getting paid not to work. So I was in that privileged position. And I was just on Instagram, just kind of scrolling one day, and I happened to come across an account, and it was two Ninja Turtles. So I had Ninja Turtles and Shredder, and they were like racing little RC cars, kind of battling each other. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, sorry, I don't know if
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I was like, what is this? Like, is this CGI? Is it like, I didn't understand what I was looking at. And then I kind of swiped along and I saw the setup, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is toys. Like, these are toys, but it looked like movie quality. So then that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of discovering this world of toy photography. And I thought, oh, I could probably do that, because I've got the lights, I've got the camera, I've got like some figures. And then I really quickly realized that it's way more difficult than it seems. but that kind of ignited the spark in me that I wanted to do it. I wanted to get better, and I wanted to slog away at it. And it was really frustrating at the start because I'm the type of guy, like my mum always said that from the minute I was born, I wanted to crawl, and as soon as I could crawl, I wanted to walk. Like I always want to be on like the next thing. So for me, I wanted to be good at it, and it was really, really annoying not being good at it. But at the same time, that sort of gradual process of each one kind of getting a little bit better and forcing me to understand things that I hadn't really looked at. Like, I did video, but my lighting was always pretty standard. It was like, just chuck a light up on your subject and then let that be done with it. Whereas the photography thing kind of forced me to learn that and to try new lenses and to really get to grips with my camera and really kind of just better myself. So that was another aspect as well. I was like, this is really good because it's kind of helping my develop my skills in the video field as well. And that was a good excuse to sort of say to my now wife but girlfriend at the time, oh, I think I should maybe invest some money in this because it's really helping. It'll be good for any freelance work I do.
Oh no! Listen, if you can turn your passions for a job or do your, have that all included, listen, you're winning at that point, and if you can justify it, even better.
Exactly.
So no, that's amazing that it's came that way. I was always in the kind of point that, growing up in that, you had enough, but you didn't want to like over egg the pudding and ask for too much in that. So there was like certain things, you get to having a disposable income and you start thinking, you know what, I'm going to buy those trainers, and I end up buying like too many trainers and collecting them. And I don't even know, like Blu-rays, like physical media is a big thing. I really enjoy that, sound, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to like models and stuff, is that something that you were doing? Obviously you were talking about prior to that, but is that something that you were interested in, and this is just your outlet now for it? Like, is that kind of how that kind of came about?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, when I was, particularly when I was at uni, I went to uni in Aberdeen, and I had to, I went to art school, and it was out at Garthy campus, so I had to get a bus from, I can't remember exactly where it was, but it was like the bus stop was right next to Forbidden Planet. So every day when I got off the bus, I would go straight to Forbidden Planet, and so I got really into comics, and I got really into action figures, and started. I suppose I would say collecting, but I really just bought what I liked. Like if it was McFarlane Movie Maniacs, cool. If it was DC, whoever had the line at the time, it would be them. But like even then, like action figures were nowhere near what they're like now. They were pretty standard, but it was just about putting them out on the shelves, having them as part of the collection, because I just they kind of never grew out of wanting to display toys, I suppose. And then, as I say, that kind of fell by the wayside. But I got into, like you're saying about the disposable income, once I started earning some money, I kind of got into getting some vintage toys, things that I never had as a kid. So like the Ninja Turtles party wagon or the pizza thrower, or like I'm looking at them just now, these the Tiger electronic handheld games, like a few of them, just like little random things, and wee collectibles. So it was always ticking away in the background. And then, I think once I discovered toy photography, it sort of reignited that spark of action figures, and kind of opened my eyes to where action figures were and how much the game had changed, and how detailed they were and the level of articulation. And just when you kind of, you go in and you find like Marvel Legends, for example, and you go, oh, that's a pretty decent figure for 20 quid. And then you realize the complete other end of the spectrum where it's like, over £100 on a figure, but like the difference is staggering, and you're like, oh, hold on, there's like a whole tier here.
I know. I find that with most things now that there is some sort of, I don't want to say I suppose it's good because the barrier for entry is quite low. Then like you're saying, you can go out and spend £20 on a figure, but if you want like the creme de la creme, you are paying that much. It's like getting a DVD, which for most people is fine and they're happy with that. And then I want like the 4K Dolby Atmos because it's just what I want. So no, I can appreciate that. You've mentioned a couple of lines there. I'm assuming I tried to do a kind of wee bit of research, and I have quite a good collection of comics in that. I'm assuming McFarlane's Todd McFarlane, the comic book. Yes.
Yeah.
So is there a line like, or I was going to say designer or brand that is your favourite? Is it McFarlane? Is it NECA? You mentioned them.
So I got a lot of McFarlane quite early on, and I tend not to get them anymore. They're a little bit bigger than your sort of 1/12 scale. They just sit a little bit bigger, and the articulation can be a little bit clunky. So I've kind of moved away from them. I still have kept some, but I sold a lot of them. The line that I probably enjoy collecting the most is a brand called Mezco. I don't know if you've heard of them. I can show you. So they were the Power Rangers that were in the video. They were Mezco ones, but this is the White Ranger one. So you can open it up and show it. Like, it comes with loads of accessories.
So am I right in saying that that's like actual fabric? It's not just like white plastic, because it looked like almost like fabric on the suits and that.
Yeah. They're called soft goods. Is the term. But yes, it's fabric rather than plastic.
Few technical difficulties there, but we are back. I'm going back. We're talking about like the kind of obviously the I'm gonna say I was going to say NECA. What was the name of the brand there you were using? Is it
that was Mezco?
So like the soft goods, like obviously back in the day, like it was literally everything was plastic. So the fact that you're getting that now, and I think the thing that for me that sold the photography when you were doing it was the fact that you couldn't see like any articulation. It just looked like a leg, you know what I mean? Like there was none of that. Whereas like, I think the figures, just purely speaking for Power Rangers, had the head flipping ones, the morphing ones.
Yeah.
They had the big like silver screws in the leg. Don't get me wrong, you could put the leg sideways and do a cool kick, but even back then it bugged me. I'm like, man, I wish I couldn't see any of that. So the fact that you're getting some, especially those Ninja Turtle ones, I think those are photorealistic when you light them the right way and you take the picture. Is that kind of what you look for when you're thinking, this is going to be the next one I'm going for? Do you look for like things where you're like, you can't see the articulation, it's hidden very well? Is that something that's kind of on your list when you're looking?
It really depends on the figure, if I'm honest, like the character and what. Like a lot of Spider-Man ones, you have to just take the hit and know that you're going to have like the cuts and stuff visible if you want the articulation. But then there was actually a third party that released a version of Spider-Man. It was called Ultimate Netman, so they didn't get sued. But he was in a soft, like a rubber body suit thing, but the articulation on it is like absolutely next level. Like, I mean, you could curl him up into a ball, and that I think is a total game changer in terms of not seeing all the limb cuts and articulation things. So that's really cool, and they're just about to release. I think it's the Andrew Garfield ones, both versions of those suits. So I've got one of them on pre-order. I'm tempted to get the other one as well, but we'll see.
Is it the first or second? Because that second film suit is just like, that is the creme de la creme when it comes to that.
I've got the second on pre-order, but I don't know. Like the first suit, it's weird, but there's still like a little part of me that's like, it's just classic. Just looks kind of, it's just different. It's just different to anything else. But
it's not bad in any way, like it's just that the second Amazing Spider-Man suit is to me still the benchmark when it comes to live action. Like I love the Maguire ones. I like the Andrew Garfield one. I particularly hate the Marvel, MCU Spider-Man ones because they look so fake. Like it doesn't look tangible. It's like you can tell they're just wearing the dots, but even then when you see the behind the scenes, the suits actually look pretty good. So I'm like, why are we ruining this? So I'm hoping Brand New Day, which the trailer is not out yet, improves on it. But yeah, no, those suits, especially like the two for the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man films, are just amazing.
That opening shot from Amazing Spider-Man 2, when you see the wrinkles on the back of the suit, it's like
I'm sure there's like one of my first Instagram posts is no an animated version, but like a kind of hand-drawn one of that, and it was like maybe for like like how Japan always has like really cool posters for the films. I think it was maybe the Japanese poster for the film. I was like, that's incredible. Like, I need that. So no, I totally get it. Is there, like you mentioned DC and Marvel, and your most recent picture you put up was of Harley Quinn. Do you have a preference between the two, or are you quite like, I like this or I like that?
I'm definitely more of a like movie wise. I'm more of an MCU guy. I enjoy the DC stuff. I enjoy it more now than I did when it first came out. Like when Man of Steel came out, I was raging. Like that ending, I was like, no, that's not Superman. He doesn't do that. And then I went to see Dawn of Justice, and I was like, what is this? This is just like a wee bit of story. Well, no, Man of Steel, I thought was just a wee bit of story, and then like a 90-minute fight. But Dawn of Justice, I was like, this is just I'm not enjoying any of this. And then I think I enjoyed Wonder Woman. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And then must have watched the original Justice League that came out and thought, it's dead, like whatever. And then I watched the Snyder Cut, and it like I don't know why, but I was just like, this is phenomenal. Like I am in for the 3-4 hours, however long it is. I'm like, I'm absolutely in. And then I went back and rewatched Man of Steel and Dawn of Justice because of that, and was like, actually, I really like these films. So I must have just needed a bit of time to get there.
I was I remember vividly I was working night shift around the time that Man of Steel came out, went and saw it, and there was 3 films I saw that year, and I'm saying that now, I actually can't remember what I was telling a lie, it was Iron Man 3, Star Trek Into Darkness, and Man of Steel. And Man of Steel was my like middle, like I thought that was, I enjoyed it made me like Superman. But I was a guy that never really liked kind of Superman growing up, so I was like, oh. But now going back and watching it after seeing the most recent like iteration, the David Consway, James Gunn, I enjoy Man of Steel for what it is, but I think we're onto a winner here with the new ones. Like I'm really enjoying it. So
that one that came out in the summer there, that was just fantastic. I loved it.
So good. Is that something, like if there was like a really good like David Consway, or like I don't know, Cara Zor-El perhaps with Supergirl coming out, because I noticed them when I was going through your Instagram and your TikToks and stuff. It was like when I seen I think it was you must have put one up around the time of Stranger Things, and I was like, well played. Like I like that. Yeah. So it's like, is that something you look at? You're like, obviously you want to do the ones that you enjoy, but at the same time, you're also like, right, well, there's going to be an Avengers Doomsday. Should I start assembling the Avengers?
I think it's probably more if I've watched the thing, I then want to go and do something to like keep that experience going. So if I've been to see that, like if I've been watching Stranger Things, that I don't know if you watched the last season, but the Demogorgon fight, like the big battle with at the army base. As soon as that ended, I was like, I want to make that on my on my dining table. Like I want to make that in miniature form. I want to try and recreate that. So it's less calculated. Like, oh, I'll try and tie it in because I know that I'll be popular. It's more just like if I've really enjoyed something. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. Like I've got a couple of Avatar figures that are still in the box, but every time I watch a new Avatar film or rewatch the Avatar movies, I'm like, oh, I have to try and do that. And I just think, you know what? Like, where do you even start with that? Like, I've got loads of wee dioramas of buildings and stuff, but I don't have the jungle, the woods, the whatever's like. So I'm like, they're just gonna have to stay in their boxes for now.
Listen, I remember when the first Avatar came out and there was all those news articles about people being depressed because they can't go to Pandora, I think it was called. It was like, so maybe it's a good thing you've not got that. You just like, I'm not leaving the house because I've got Pandora here now.
Yeah.
So like you kind of hit on there, like with the likes of the dioramas. Like, do you build them yourself, or is it something you're like, right, I'm going to take something from here to something here and combine it? Like, how's the process for that?
So I don't make dioramas. I did try right when I started, and a lot of them. I mean, a lot of them are foam board, glued together and bits of balsa wood and painted and stuff. But I just found like I was probably too impatient to do it correctly, and also lack the talent and finesse of being able to build them to a high enough standard that I want them. So I commission a lot of them, or people are maybe selling them, like they've built them on a bit of a whim, I guess. But they're like, here's a diorama for sale, and I'm usually the one that's like, okay, I'll take it. So they can be quite expensive, but when you see the detail, it's kind of one of these things you go, I'm going to use that time and time and time again. It makes for a good investment, I would say.
No, definitely. I think there's one when your predator figures, and it's like I think there's like a kind of tuft of grass, and I'm just like, that's such good detail. Like just it's really granular, and I was just wondering. I was like, is that something that you do? But I put it down. I'm not very artsy, but it's not because like I don't enjoy art. It's just because I'm too particular. Like if I don't get a circle right, like by the third time, I'm just like Cyrus. Like I'm putting it in the bin. Do you find setting up shots and kind of compositions and stuff? Do you find that quite kind of time consuming, or are you quite like just get in and get on with it? You're saying you're kind of impatient. Does that kind of play into
that? No, I am impatient, but I'm more than willing to put the time into it. Like I can spend like, honestly, I could spend anywhere from 3 hours to a couple of days on a particular shot. Like, because I've got this room, which is really just for my stuff. I'm really lucky that I can start setting something up, and if it's not working for whatever reason, I can just go away, like walk away, come back the next day with a fresh pair of eyes, or I can start to set something up and think, right, cool, I need to head out, I need to go and have dinner, I need to whatever, I can leave it there and come back to it tomorrow. But I really, the setup is really the kind of the first part of the puzzle that I really enjoy, because it's like I've got access to all this stuff. What do I show? How do I condense it into either like, that frame or that frame? Which can be a real challenge. And the last few shots that I've tried to take, I've really struggled with. Actually, I've had to walk away from a couple and just sack a couple off, because it was like the options were too overwhelming. I was like, I really know what I want to try and achieve, but I'm not quite getting it, and so I just had to kind of walk away. But when you get it, when you're like, that's it. When you find the frame and then you kind of build the scene around it. Like for example, the that Ninja Turtles one that I did just recently with them in the street, and it was like all kind of, there was like the wee kind of cut through for Mikey to be seen in the background. When you kind of got all that in it, you're like, this is cool. This is exactly why you do it, because you think, oh, this looks just like a wee street in New York, and the Ninja Turtles are there. Like, it looks no different to what it would look like if it was in a film, which is a cool feeling.
No, listen, absolutely. As I say, those models and those pictures particularly just look like it's ripped straight from like scene in the movie. So obviously, going back, you're talking about the setup and that. What is your first like thoughts? You were saying you were watching Stranger Things. How do you then go from you're watching it to the finished product of you're posting the video or the pictures on your Instagram? Is it just like, is that the spark for you? Do you write anything down? What's your kind of process for that?
You kind of, it's that sort of initial inspiration from it. So for the Stranger Things, for example, it was right. I know there's that scene in my head that, I've seen it once. I'll go away, I'll Google the scene, see if there's like any clips of it on YouTube or any images online. It'll just kind of clue me back into what like was the lighting, what, does it marry up in my head versus what it was, and then kind of just see if I want to do a combination of them both. And then the next thing really is to try and find the pose for the figure, or the figures. So like the Demogorgon, I tried to just moved it around. I'll maybe look up some Demogorgon poses as well for reference, bearing in mind that the articulation on that one isn't the best. So you're not going to get like some real kind of crouched down feral pose, but you're going to be able to get like a cool standing pose. Work out how that, get that pose locked in. And then from there, it's kind of about finding your frame. So recently I've been shooting a lot on a wide angle to get a bit more of a kind of comic book effect. And that actually was inspired by another toy photographer that I've met through this, who I kind of know, who goes by the handle What's Up Danger. I don't know if you have seen his stuff, but
I haven't, but I appreciate the name, because the Spider-Verse movies are pretty cool. So.
Yeah. So he uses a wide angle in a lot of his pictures, and it was kind of one of these things, like I would almost be like tearing my hair out, like, how is he getting this perspective? How is he making it look so cool and dynamic, and getting that, like, the figures are massive, but you can see loads of the background. And when I realized it was a wide angle and I had a wide angle lens, I was like, right, I want to try this. So again with the Demogorgon, getting the wide angle, finding the frame and realizing, right, okay, I can have him pretty large in the frame, but I can show off a lot of the dioramas in the background. I can have a couple of soldiers. So after that, it's just about just populating the image and just trying putting things in, seeing if it works. If it doesn't, take them out. A lot of times you end up with more stuff around you that you take out of the shot because otherwise it's going to be kind of too crammed. And I've got a bag that's full of like little bits of trash and garbage or whatever and you put loads in and then you're like, it looks too artificial. It looks like no one would have 400 bin bags over there, so you sort of scrape some out and just until you get it the way that you want it, and then from there you then light it all, and that could be the moment where if it's just not working there, you still have to pack it all away and say, nah, it's not working. But the lighting is a massive process in and of itself. But again, when you get it right, it's like, oh, here we go. And then after that, like you're never just going to take the one photo because you spent maybe like 3 hours on it. So you take a photo, you put in like your fog and you're smoking that. You take a photo and you're like, well, I'm going to have to take like at least 10 or 20 just to make it all worthwhile. Just to see because again, when you're using the smoke machine, you want to make sure it's like the right kind of fog. It's not too saturated. It's kind of dispersed. And you can also do things in Photoshop where you maybe take like a couple of photos and merge them together to get the right kind of fog levels and stuff. So that's very boring. I'm sorry, I've talked you through the entire process.
Not at all. Not at all. As I say, somebody who I'm not artistic in any kind of sense, really. But I mean, I enjoy the conversations, and the whole point in this was to speak to someone who is passionate. It comes from working in a pub, and like I always say, like speaking to someone about cricket. I have no interest in cricket, but when somebody's speaking about it passionately, I'm like, oh man, actually, you know what? I'm probably not going to watch it, but I respect that. Whereas with yourself, as I say, as soon as I saw the pop culture kind of references, I was like, nah, we need to give parts of me very a message here. And obviously, like you got back so quickly, it was just nice. I was like, here we go. So you can just tell, obviously, from kind of conception to making it real, the passion that kind of flows through that. So no, this is exactly what we're after there. Is there any, like, obviously you said you've got the Amazing Spider-Man pre-ordered. Is that going to be, is that like in your head? Have you got like dioramas? You're like, right, that's the next one, or I'm going to get a few, or do you just, is it sometimes you're like, I'm going to sit down and watch, I don't know, like, Bumblebee, and you're like, actually, you know what, there's some scenes for that I could use. Is that how it works? Like you've not got like a plan as such, you're just going with the flow?
It's kind of, so on my phone, I have a folder in my photo gallery called Inspiration, and in that it's like just various bits of artwork, comic book art, any kind of video game captures, movie screenshots, whatever that I've seen just out and about as I've been scrolling on social media. And that's kind of where I'll go to if I'm like, right, I know I want to take a Spider-Man photo, for example. So I'll just go through and I'll look at all the bits of the Spider-Man stuff that I've collected there, and try and, if I'm honest, it usually comes from a pose. Like that's the kickoff point. Like it'll be like that I want to capture that pose. Maybe not in exactly the same way that it is in the image, but or maybe not even the same character. So for example, there's a Last of Us photo that I took that was Joel and Ellie crouched behind a car. And the inspiration for that pose came from someone who'd posed a Heath Ledger Joker figure in like the bank heist costume, and it was like crouched behind a podium. And I thought, oh, I wonder if that would work for that. So it's that's mainly where the jumping off point comes from. Or sometimes like I'll just get an image in my head. As I say, sometimes it is inspired by watching a movie, TV show, playing a video game, whatever. There's something. Going in with nothing is like a hiding to nowhere, because you sometimes it works. You look around, you take a fit, you're like, oh, I'll try this one, take it out, you start playing around with it. But I find, for me, having just some kind of nugget, some kind of inspiration there to drive the whole shot works best.
No, I can totally appreciate that. And in fact, just from like, obviously we've been talking for probably about, just I'd say about around a week, in that time, I downloaded I downloaded Death Stranding. I'd been ragging on it for years and years, saying that it's just a walking simulator and that. And I think on Saturday there, I played it for maybe like 3 hours, and I was like, I get it. Like, I
Oh,
just get
really?
it. Yeah, I love it, man. It's so good. But in with that, and what I was going to say before, but this, I wrote this down before we kind of even agreed to come on. I was like, this is a question I want to ask, obviously, because there's quite a lot of, you know, you have to put a lot into this to get something back, but it's a passion for you, so you can see that. If someone's maybe in the fence about what they were doing, going back to the Death Stranding, that's got probably the best photo mode, I think, in games. I would say anyway. I think most Sony games have a really good photo mode. Do you find yourself ever mucking about with that? And as someone who, you know, doesn't probably have the artistic flair to do a diorama and stuff, I found myself playing about with the photo mode as if like it was, you know, characters and toys on a table, and I was adding it in. Spider-Man 1 and 2, I think, are very good for that as well, speaking of Spider-Man. So is that something you've ever played about with, the photo modes in games, especially in more modern games?
I did a little bit in Spider-Man, probably 1 and 2, or probably more 1, just because it was a novelty. I'd never seen it before, but never really kind of that much. It was more just kind of trying to break it, trying to see what I could do and what I couldn't do and what the restrictions were, but I never really went back to it. There are a couple of accounts, or certainly one account on Instagram that I follow, and I don't know the name of it, unfortunately, but their work is pretty much all photo mode stuff from the Spider-Man games, and the stuff that he's able to create is honestly incredible. Like, I think he can really dial in the lighting, and you see like videos of him doing it, and he's kind of moving like the position of the sun around and the elements, and if it's rain on or off and stuff, and you're like, and then I think he maybe touches them up in Photoshop a bit, but like that is a skill into itself, and one that I don't have, but I absolutely respect folk that can do it, because I remember he was posting something, must have been some videos, and it was like a comment that was something like, you know, you're just taking a screenshot, and then he showed the process behind it, and he's like, you know, at the end it's like, it's not just a screenshot, and you're like, oh yeah, fair enough, like you've absolutely proved your point. It's a total skill.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've taken screenshots in the past, you know, whether it's, I don't know, like you're playing like Ghost of Tsushima, and you're, you know, looking out over the island or something like that's pretty cool, you know, you take a wee picture of that. But there's a difference to that than, you know, like making it, you know, black and white, and then like adding like the blood drops off off the sword, or just timing it properly. So no, like there's definitely a skill to it. I certainly wouldn't be saying you're taking screenshots. One of the other things I was going to ask as well, with regards to obviously the kind of action figures set up and stuff, have you, like, I always just going back to the kind of Power Rangers, just because it was something I always wanted growing up. I always wanted like the Morphers, and then A1 Comics, for whatever reason, this was back when it was at Brayhead and hadn't shut. I think it's shut now. They were having a sale, because I think the Legacy line had like was stopping because they'd been bought by Hasbro, so it was, you know, they were getting rid of their stock basically, and I managed to get like the Morpher, the Power Morpher. I'm like, I think so. You could that'd be something that I think somebody could do something really cool with, you know, especially with the After Effects and stuff. It's like, because I mean, it's basically like a TV prop at this point. Is it just action figures they have, or is that something, you know? I can see Ecto 1 in the background there. Would you ever like do something with that, or like I mentioned Transformers earlier? Is that something that you would look at again? Is it just down to your inspiration?
Yeah, it's really just down to whatever you're. Oh, sorry, my dog's just walked in the room. It's really just down to whatever kind of you feel inspired by. For me, it's probably more action figures that I would photograph. I might buy like other collectible things. Like, so for example, I think the Reignition line is a new Power Ranger stuff, and I was looking at the Power Blaster and the Morpher and stuff, and it was that thing. I was like, do I get it? Do I not? And try to think, what would I do with it? More, where would I put it? Because storage is running out. But I have I've bought all the Zords that you probably see. They're just stacked up there. I've not even taken them out of the box yet. But I bought the Zords because, again, didn't have that as a kid. Not sure if I'll photograph it, but I just wanted the Zords. So really, it depends on what the thing is like. I suppose it's quite nice to have that flexibility and be like, if I want it, I can buy it.
No, absolutely. It goes back to that disposable income we were talking about, and I know, again, we're speaking about like the spectrum of like prices of things. I think when it must have been around the kind of mid 2010s or something, and I wonder how much like a full Megazord would be, and it was like say £90 on eBay second hand for the original '93 one, and then you start looking at all these different ones, and you look at I think the Max ones like is it Sola Chugokin, and it's like $500. You're just like what?
Aye.
Who is spending this? It's like it better transform for me,
Yeah,
at that kind of price. But no, is so like you've got? Is there any other kind of ones pre-ordered that you think, oh, like I'll be going or something that's coming out? Because I mean, Last of Us, you mentioned that is video game characters. Is that kind of one as well that you would look at, or is it just something that grabs your kind of attention?
Yeah, it's really just anything that I am a fan of or I've become a fan of. So Last of Us, I was pretty late to the game with that. No
No
pun
pun
intended.
intended. Jinx.
So I think it was when it was remastered on PS4. That's when I played it, and it was honestly one of those moments where I was like just completely blown away. Like I fell in love immediately with the world and the characters and the aesthetic of it, and immediately started looking for action figures of it. So there's a NECA 2-pack that's from Last of Us Part 2, and then they brought out Limb Toys, brought out again some third-party unofficial figures called, I think it's is it The Rest of Us? I think that's what they called it. Of Joel and Ellie. Came with, I mean, they're soft goods. They've got loads of accessories. And see, once I got my hands on them, it was just like, I want to create this world as best I can. And like, I've got wee accessories. So, for example, this car that's like Last of Us inspired. That again, a guy was selling on eBay, and I was like, "Yep, that's like I just want to collect all kind of Last of Us type stuff." So it's less than it's about a video game. It's just because that particular video game really, really captured my imagination. Batman's another character that I just kind of, I don't know, I've loved for a long time. And so any kind of iteration of Batman, I tend to buy. Like I think I just had 2 or 3 that arrived fairly recently. I've got however many already. And I think I've got another 1 or 2 on pre-order. And it's like, you don't need them, but because it's all different Batman, different suits, different mediums that you're like, I need them all.
Well, I think I noticed that from one of your pictures. It's like I don't know I don't know the line, but it was like almost like kind of comic book accurate Batman, and he was on the Bat bike from the Flash, I think it was. So I was like, that's pretty cool, man, because I'm very much like, if something is in a line, like I would never mix it with anything else. So I was like, actually, that works particularly well. The way they just mix together, it just looks great. So like when you see that, I was like, that's pretty good. And the good thing, like you're saying with Batman, is it's like you're talking about the different mediums, but even just the films. I mean, I've got countless books, countless art styles in there, but the films themselves, and just even the way they're shot, like the cinematography for those films is, Greg Fraser and the Batman, I think done some of the best work of his career. But you could take like a Tim Burton suit, Tim Burton setup, and you could make it look like that, but then you could do it in like the kind of Nolan realism kind of sense as well. It's like that's like a Pandora's box of ideas, that you have there, and that's one character, which is pretty cool, I think. So
yeah, it's fantastic. And villains as well. You can have like a villain like Deathstroke from Arkham Knight or Arkham Origins or whatever, facing off against Chris Nolan's Batman or Michael Keaton or whatever, and they all kind of work because they all have a similar shared aesthetic. Or crossing like Spider-Man versus Batman or whatever. Like that's part of the appeal of the toy photography thing. Like you can create your own worlds.
No, definitely, there is things there. I mean, obviously growing up watching like Power Rangers, there is that mad episode of Power Rangers in space where the Ninja Turtles turn up. I think like, when I watched that originally, man, I was just like, what is this? What is going on here? So no, the fact that you can do that and have like Batman fighting Spider-Man, sorry, and Batman's always going to win because he's Batman, obviously. He's time to prep for that. So but yeah, so like I've been through the kind of Batman figures with you. Is there a particular one that you like? I just for the ones that I saw, I think it's the Arkham Knight version, that looks pretty cool. Like, it looks pretty well articulated in that. I mean, he's going to like pet a cat and stuff. So is that like a good, is that like what you look for, like kind of quite good articulation? I know you were saying the Demogorgon isn't the best articulation, but you can get some good shots. But is the Batman one's quite good that way, because you could hide that quite well, I would imagine, the articulation in them.
Yeah, so that's made by a company that's just kind of come out, called LPZZ, or LPZZ if we're talking non with LPZZ is the brand, and they've just brought out two figures, a Batman Arkham Knight and a Deathstroke Arkham Knight that I've got, and the articulate, like, they kind of lit a fire up everybody's arse, I think, because it's like the articulation is next level. The sculpt and paintwork is phenomenal. Like, the level of detail is honestly fantastic. And then the price point of it being under £100, whilst also having loads of accessories, extra hands, batarangs, multiple heads, like loads and loads of stuff. I think when it was announced, people were like, "How are they able to do this for such a low cost?" And it probably also then made people realize they've been overpaying for stuff with some of the bigger brands. And at kind of the same time, there's another company called InArt who normally do like 1/6 scale stuff, who entered the 112 game. So they dropped their what's his name, Christian Bale Batman from Dark Knight Rises, which I've not photographed yet, but I've got them up there. And again, articulation, level of detail, like the unmasked Christian Bale head. After we finish, just go and Google InArt 112 Batman figure and look for that Christian Bale head. It's like nuts, absolutely nuts. And again, under £100. So I think, I can't even remember what your question was. You've just got me onto
it was just the level of articulation and stuff, where like the likes of the Batman figures, they always look really good in that. And it seems to be that, I mean, it's Batman. I think behind Spider-Man, it's like the most popular superhero. So you'd expect there to be lots and lots of figures, but Batman particularly looks like he seems to have a really good articulation set.
Yeah, I think for these modern or newer companies that are bringing out Batman figures, like, the articulation is phenomenal, and so you're going to get really, really good articulation with fantastic aesthetics. Because normally what you tended to happen was you'd maybe get, like, so there's another company called Mafex or Mafex, I don't know exactly how you pronounce it. Fantastic articulation. Like, they did the Batman figure, the Robert Pattinson one. Fantastic articulation, suit looked great, all the rest of it. But the head sculpt's a little soft, like the paintwork isn't exactly right. So then you would have to buy a third party head of somebody who just like 3D printed the head and painted it, and it would look like phenomenal. But that was another cost over and above the figure that you maybe had to spend like £100 on, or over £100. So it all adds up. So the fact that now you can get the two at once, the articulation and the finer detail, it's brilliant. And actually, a lot of third-party unofficial figures were doing that anyway. It's just nice that the official licensed ones have started to catch up. So I was on a chat with or on a podcast with some guys, and I think they said, for Ninja Turtles, and I would say this is for Batman as well, if you're a Ninja Turtles fan, you're eating good right now. And I think like the same could be said for Batman, because there's some fantastic figures that have just come out and are way to come out as well.
It just seems to be the case that you should be hiring these guys, that are maybe doing the third party stuff. Like, hold on, how are you doing that? It's like, get the hackers in. You're joining the CIA. It should be like that. So, no, it's pretty cool. And I think as somebody who is casual about it, like really enjoys films, models, that kind of stuff, but like doesn't know a great deal about like the kind of action figure side of it. One that always strikes me, and you mentioned Forbidden Planet earlier. When you're in Glasgow and you go to the Forbidden Planet, the thing that my eyes are always drawn to, apart from like the books that I want, is the hot toys. I always think they look amazing. But again, we're talking about articulation. It just looks like they're standing in the one position. Is it something you've ever looked at, or is it just that the price point and the level of what you can do with them just seems, a bit skewed the wrong way, I would say?
the price point has been a massive issue for me, and a barrier for me for hot toys. Up until now,
Hey.
I have one on pre-order that I think it's been dispatched. And it's Jinx from Arcane.
I know the character. I've never watched it, but I love the animation. So I know what it is. Yeah,
yeah. If I'm honest, Hot Toys have now, they know what they're doing. Like, they've reached out to some toy photographers, and they basically, I'm guessing they hire them, but they release hot toy blogger photos. So they'll send them, maybe they don't actually pay them, but they send them the figures in advance. So these people pose the figures, and they get to, pose them, photograph them. They're toy photographers anyway, so they, they'll know what they're doing. So they make it look absolutely legit. And then they post, their Instagram feeds. Your Instagram feed's just full of it. So it just worked on me. I was like, you know what? I'm buying that figure. It looks absolutely phenomenal. The articulation looked pretty good on it as well. Your point that you made earlier about not being able to see the joints, it's got like seamless silicon skin. So like the elbows, the shoulders, the neck, and everything, it's all absolutely seamless. And the articulation, the accessories that it comes with. Yeah, and I managed to find it for a fairly decent price, let's say. It wasn't totally nightmarish. Certainly a lot cheaper than I've seen a lot of hot toys, because I have looked at a lot of hot toys and thought, will I? And you see it's like 300 odd quid, and you're like, I just can't justify spending that on one figure. So this one, who knows? This might be the gateway.
That's what they're hoping anyway. They're like,
exactly.
Got a cash cow here. Let's get them, boys. Well, listen, it has been a great podcast, and really, as I say, it's more for me. Like, it's just been dead interesting, like seeing that, because as I say, it was literally as soon as I saw the video, I was like, I need to speak to Chris here. This is something else. So, is there anything, Chris, that you've got coming up, or is there any kind of projects you're looking at that you kind of want to plug before we kind of wrap things up? Is there anything in your end?
There's no real kind of projects or anything that I'm working on. I'm hoping to do some more video stuff, like the Power Rangers video that I did and the Ninja Turtles video, because that is my bread and butter, and because I have like editing experience, I wanted to do more with that, with Parts May Vary. That was my kind of goal at the start of the year. So I guess I would just sort of say, for anybody who has seen the stuff that like it, give my Instagram a follow, but also give my TikTok a follow, because there will be more video content coming there. Hopefully soon.
No, that's brilliant. Listen, we'll get all that obviously shared. It was TikTok I saw you, and then I've been speaking to you through Instagram and stuff. So no, absolutely, we'll get all that shared when the video goes live on Saturday. If you want to get in contact with us, sorry, I was thinking about hot toys there. I was wondering if you want to get in contact. Obviously, you can do it. Contact at thewhiskeysourhour.com. You can also message us, reach out on social medias, Facebook, Instagram, give us a wee follow, a like, even on YouTube. It's always appreciated. And it has been a good episode. I've really enjoyed this. Just before we go, thanks very much, Chris, for being on. I really appreciate it.
Not at all. Thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
No, it's been really good. Well, you've been listening to Chris from Parts May Vary. I've been Thomas Waddle. This has been the Whisky Sour Hour. Cheers.